Hi guys. Today I want to make a video about a subject that I have seen several times brought up on my channel, and it's a question that I think we have all most likely asked ourselves at some point in our healing journey, and that is, have I really been abused? Was my partner actually a narcissist, or am I overreacting? Am I making a mountain out of a molehill? How do we know if we've really been abused and if our partners are narcissists? Let's talk about that today. My name is Amy and this is Narcaway. My channel is devoted to educating, supporting, and encouraging victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse. Okay, guys, have you asked yourself that question? Have you contemplated whether you are overreacting and making something out of nothing? I know I questioned that a lot. I didn't want to go jumping to conclusions. I didn't want to villainize somebody who didn't deserve to be villainized. I was not looking for sympathy from others or just trying to garner attention. I was genuinely confused and trying to figure out why I was so confused, why the behaviors never matched up. And I spent a lot of time doing research and educating myself on toxic relationships, emotional abuse, and narcissistic abuse specifically. Now, you don't need to label your partner or whoever the abuser is in your case. You don't need to have them diagnosed as a narcissist to determine whether your relationship was abusive or toxic. All you need to know is the behaviors in the relationship, whether they were inconsistent, whether they were confusing, whether you felt targeted, and really it comes down a lot to your happiness level. If you felt that you were constantly at fault, if you were blamed for everything in your relationship, if you were unhappy more than you were happy, and if you were confused, these are all really good signs that you were in an abusive relationship. And you don't have to be hit or touched or even name called to be in an abusive relationship. Psychological abuse is of the mind. It's in your psyche. There's no physical aspect to that. There's not even necessarily a verbal attacking aspect to that. It's gaslighting. It is manipulating. It is coercing. It's controlling. And these are behaviors that narcissists and abusers use very consistently in your relationship. It's done very subtly. It's not obvious. And that's why it takes years to figure out that something's not right. There's good parts to the relationship, even to an abusive relationship. The abuser is not going to be abusive all the time. They're not going to be attacking you and looking for that control all the time. So it's in those times where they're not being overtly controlling or aggressive or manipulating that you're really going to doubt your past perceptions. You'll sit back and think, well, this is a nice day. Today is a good day. We're happy. We're enjoying each other. We're having fun. We're laughing. And that will overpower a lot of the bad. I've heard it called toxic amnesia before, and it's where the good outweighs the bad. It makes you forget about how bad the bad really is. It's easy to forget something that you want to forget. And of course, the abuse is something you want to forget. You want to enjoy the happy moments. You want to live in the good of your relationship. That's what you're going to focus on. So it's very easy to put all your eggs in that basket and ignore and forget about the abusive parts. And when you leave that relationship and you're trying to sort things out, it's almost like you've forgotten, or you can't identify or pinpoint or put into words the abusive behaviors that happened during that relationship. And that creates self-doubt. That's when you find yourself questioning your own memory and your own perception of that relationship. You wonder, was that person really abusive? Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were just having a bad day. Maybe I was the cause of their anger and their mistrust. Maybe they had reason to act the way they did. Those are reasonable thoughts. You know what? It's good to question that, because that means you're looking for accountability and you're looking at all sides. You're not just blaming one person. But you can't just make excuses for them either. You have to be very impartial when you're analyzing your relationship. You have to look at all sides of it. And everybody has a bad day. Even empaths, even Mother Teresa and Gandhi and the Dalai Lama and all these perfectly perceived people. You know what? Everybody has a bad day. Nobody's perfect. We all do and say things that we wish we could take back out of anger and frustration and all sorts of different reasons. The difference is somebody who's not abusive does not do it on the regular. It's not a habit. It's not part of the relationship. It's not a specific component or personality trait associated with one person. It's a one-off. It's a here and then with a reason type of reaction generally. But if somebody is doing it constantly and consistently, that's a trait. That's a personality trait. That's a behavior, and it's done with purpose. It is done to manipulate someone else. Let's take the silent treatment, for example. The silent treatment can often be explained away as somebody needing to take space, somebody needing to take time to just analyze the situation, to take a breather, to understand things for themselves. That's okay. What is not okay is when you're giving somebody the silent treatment with the intent to hurt or punish them. If you're purposely not speaking to someone to get them to feel worried or hurt or for them to chase you, that's done with purpose to manipulate someone else. That is a toxic trait. Taking space in a relationship is healthy and normal, and that's when you can express that to your partner and say, listen, I just need 5 minutes, I need 10 minutes, I need a day to cool down, to think about things, to just relax. I love you, I'll talk to you tomorrow. That is different than the silent treatment. So you have to look at the intent a lot of the time. It looks the same. Not speaking to someone looks the same. But when it's done with a certain intent and respect, it's very different. When somebody is deliberately not answering your calls for 24 hours, they could easily pick up that phone and explain to you what's going on in their mind. But if they're not, it's because they don't want to. They don't want to clear things up with you. They don't want you to have peace of mind. They want you scrambling. So that's one kind of example of how you can look at someone and misinterpret what's going on because of the outwardly appearance of taking space or not talking to someone. But when you look at the intent, when you break it down and you see that, no, this is done with malice, that you have to understand is a toxic behavior. That is an abusive behavior. And that is a behavior used very often by narcissists. Narcissists need to be in control. They love to have control of you. So when you're reflecting back on your relationship and you're questioning whether it was actually abusive or not, whether that person was intentionally hurting you, look at the patterns. Look at how often they did and followed these certain behavior patterns. Were they giving you the silent treatment regularly? Was there a cycle where they would love bomb you, give you roses, tell you they loved you, take you on trips? But then they would start criticizing you and telling you that, oh, you're just like your mother, or you can't do anything right, or wow, you really screwed that up, or, even things about your appearance, oh, you should get your nails done, you should get your hair done, oh, wow, you could lose a few pounds. And then it comes straight to the discard phase, which could be as blatant as breaking up with you, or it can be subtle, like the silent treatment, where they're not fully leaving you, but you're questioning where your relationship stands. If you ever question where your relationship stands or where you stand with somebody else, if they won't give you the respect to explain where their head is at, if they're making a guessing game out of your relationship, that's a sign of abuse. And these things are so subtle, guys. It's no wonder you question whether it was abusive or not. I know for me, I was in my relationship for 10 years and I didn't know it was abusive. I would have never, ever labeled it as an abusive relationship. I just didn't see it that way because he didn't hit me. There was no physical violence. However, there were lots of silent treatments. There was name calling. There was a ton of blame. There was criticism constantly. There was control. But when they're done in between, when it's not constant and when it's not relentless, when it goes in a cycle, when it's broken up with the good times, with the vacations, with the laughing, with the friends, with the fun, it becomes easier to ignore, or at least to put aside. You can ignore it temporarily, but it always comes back, because once they start acting abusive again, your reaction is, here we go again. And you know what you're in for. You also explain it away as just a personality trait of theirs. That's just the way they are. And you're right about that. That is just the way they are. That doesn't mean you should accept that or you have to accept that. That doesn't mean that that's okay. They are like that because that's how they get control and power in their relationship, and that's what they need. They don't need or want love and respect and compassion. They want you to adore them. They want to feel put on a pedestal, and you are their subject and you are their slave. You will slave to them for their attention, for sex, for money, for housing. But really it comes down to attention. They need to feel that they are the be-all and end-all. They need to be the king or queen of their domain, and you are working for them. You don't realize it at the time, but when you look back on your relationship, if you ever felt that you're working for them by way of supplying them with whatever it is they need, money, sex, attention, housing, then that's an abusive relationship. That's not a partnership. Think about the word partnership and how it's defined. That's two people partnering. They're taking equal responsibility and contributing equally to a relationship. A narcissistic relationship is not equal in any way, shape, or form. So when you guys are questioning whether your relationship is abusive or was abusive or not, look at the little things. Look at the little individual actions and how it made you act and how it made you feel. Look deep and look beyond the surface. That might help to open your eyes to a relationship that you would have never identified as abusive for what it really was: abusive, toxic, and unhealthy. And once you see that, I hope that you will build the tools and the armor that you need to never, ever, 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 ever end up in one of those relationships again. Guys, I hope this explains a few things for you. If you liked this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up button. Please also subscribe right here if you don't already. And you can follow me on Instagram at Narcaway for daily posts of motivation and encouragement. I love you all. I'll see you in the next video.